Hello, this is Michel Leviathan Sorbet and this is a new episode of Wojennik TV. As you might know, I am a huge fan of games in which we can use, build, deploy ships and vessels. So I'm a huge fan of the marine theme. So in my collection there are war games covering naval battles, naval wargaming, but also I have some Euro games in which we will be building using ships. I played very often Shipyard, Merchants and Marauders, Sails of Glory, among others. Today I would like to show you the elements of one of my older games in my collection, which is also really concentrated on ships. This game is Atlantic Star. It was published back in 2001 by Queen Games and designed by Dirk Henn. This is a reimplementation of an earlier title published in 1996 under the name of Show Manager. In Atlantic Star, which is a game for 2 to 6 players, we will be trying to acquire ships in order to prepare and to finance cruise on 4 different seas and oceans: on the Baltic Sea, on the Mediterranean, on the Atlantic Ocean and on the Pacific. Using ships which will be of different types, which will enable you to create to serve different routes on those waters, you'll be trying to accumulate the highest possible number of points. So you'll be running a charter agency and you'll be trying to buy or rather lend ships at the best price and to create the best possible cruises. So this is an interesting theme, something which is entirely in my scope of interest, also because the fact that this is a card game and among the cards you'll find beautiful ship cards. Each ship will be unique, well, with some exceptions, but with this huge amount of cards it is a real pleasure just to look at those pictures. So today a short presentation of the contents of this game, because a future review will follow during which I will explain you how the game works and I will give you my final thoughts about how the game plays. Today I would like just to show you the elements and then I would like at the end to give you my initial impressions even though those impressions are now 10 or 11 years old. So let's begin and let's take a closer look at Atlantic Star. Here is Atlantic Star from Queen Games and designed by Dirk Henn. As you can see, the box cover with a big liner, the Atlantic Star, preparing to depart from one of its ports. Here we have also some people gathered to say farewell to the ship. Hopefully it will cross the Atlantic safely. On the back side of this box we can find a description of the game in 5 different languages: in German, English, in Dutch, in Italian and in French. We can also take a look at the elements which we will be using during the game. So let's now open this box and let's take a look at those elements more closely. The first element which we find is a game board. The game board is sturdy, it is folded and it will be used to track points during the game. On this board we can see 5 different classes which are indicated by the number of stars, and the numbers on left side of each column shows the victory points that we will be able to score when placing our record plaques on those spaces. Now those plaques will be moving through this board depending on the scores of other players. As you can see, the top class is rewarded with the biggest number of points, but at the same time, if you happen to be last in this category, you'll score nothing. In the last class, the maximum number of points is just 14, which compared to 22 is not a lot, but at the same time, you're guaranteed to receive some points even if you have the weakest score. The second thing that we receive is a board which is called the charter agency. Here the cards which will be placed on the board will be available for purchase. We have always 4 ships. We will be having always 4 ships on this charter agency, and they will be at various prices. For instance, 1,000 mark, 2,000 marks, or 3,000 marks, or a cut can be also free. As soon as one of the ships gets chartered, the others will move clockwise in the direction of the arrows, becoming cheaper. So those cards will be cycled on this board. The rule book, or rather the rules, they are, as you can see, in German, because this is a German version of this game. The rules are not long, they are just 8 pages long, in color with some examples. It's very well written. I can assure you that it's very easy to play the game just after briefly reading this rule book once. Then the other elements. We get also 6 player aid cards, showing you first of all how a turn will look like with the main phases, showing you the 4 different seas or oceans on which we'll be trying to prepare cruises for our passengers. So the Baltic Sea, the Mediterranean, the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific. As you can see, on the Baltic Sea we'll be trying to establish only 3 routes, contrary on the Pacific, where we'll have to establish 6 routes in order to finish our voyage. Now this will also influence points attribution, because creating or accomplishing cruises on the Baltic will be granted with a 3-point bonus if you manage to use cards corresponding to the different legs of such a cruise. On the Pacific it will be 6, so it will be much more. Apart from that, we also receive the symbol of the player, because each player will have their own player aid and their own set of voyage record plaques. And on all of those plaques and on the player aid you'll find the same chimney, which will indicate the player. We received those record plaques, which I referred to earlier. Each player will receive a set of 4 such plaques. As you can see, they are in colors corresponding to the different seas or oceans, and we have 2 spaces on them. The first one will be used when initially finishing a cruise. The number of points gained will be written on the top part of this plaque. If we decide to take a loan using such a plaque, we'll write the new value below. Now we'll be writing those values using a special pencil, which can be used in order to write such information. Then the information can be easily erased from such a plaque. So nowadays we're using dry clean pencils. Now this is an older game using a standard pencil, but without any problem. Due to the surface used on those plaques, it's possible to erase those information after each play. We get some money in this game in 3 different denominations. We get 10,000 marks, 5,000 marks and 1,000 marks. Here we get the moai as a picture. Here we have something of, I believe, located in Southeast Asia, one of the structures. And here we get Egypt with the pyramids and with the Sphinx. So only 3 denominations, but we won't be needing much more. Money spending will be very easy in this game. You'll be paying just for buying cards and for changing cards on the charter agency. Finally, the last element and the most important one are the cards. As you can see, we get really a lot of them because the whole deck is quite large. Those cards will represent ships which you'll be able to charter from the charter agency. Those ships, as you can see, have unique and very beautiful artwork representing those ships. Each of them has their own unique name and also an information about what type of voyage they can be used for and what kind of leg they can be used for, because as I said earlier, ships will be used in order to accomplish cruises on 4 different oceans and seas, and each time you'll be also trying to gather a fleet of ships, enabling you to cover different legs of such voyages. So as you can see, some of those ships can be used for multiple legs. Each ship will be used only once, but taking such a card will enable you to have some flexibility, because you'll be able to choose the leg that such a ship will cover. As you can see, some of them, the biggest ones, which also will enable you to score the biggest number of points, can be used only on one ocean and only for one leg. For instance, here covering the leg from Acapulco to San Francisco. Others, as you can see, can be used on different kinds of cruises. And now there is also a special kind of card. This is the Royal William, which is the only card in the deck which appears more than once. And this is a joker, because as you can see, it has a gray symbol. This means that you can use this card to accomplish each cruise on every ocean or sea at the same time, enabling you to still get the bonus for such a voyage. So just looking at those cards is very pleasant. I love the artwork in this game. This is something that I always enjoy while playing this game. And that's it when it comes to the components which are part of Atlantic Star by Queen Games. Now let me invite you to a brief conclusion. Atlantic Star is a real beauty. I remember a lot of time ago when I acquired this game that I bought it even without looking at how the game plays. I just took a glance at the cards and I knew that I had to own it. Well, I don't regret, because this is quite an interesting game, a game which I played several times during the previous years. Then I had a pause, but lately I have brought this game back onto my table and I really had fun with it. So this game is still in my collection, and just browsing through the cards is something that I extremely like. This was the presentation of Atlantic Star. As I said earlier, I will revisit this game during a future review and I will give you my final thoughts about it, not only describing this external aspect, its components, but also its mechanical layer. Up until then, I invite you to take a look at our other videos. We have some English unboxings and reviews. Have a fantastic day and see you next time.